For all of us, we know that we have messiness. And for me, I want to make sure that we are taking at Willow Creek whatever messiness that we have. We are showing up fully to say, God, this is who we are. Here is where we are, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we want to be a place of grace and love for anyone who walks into our walls. I want to wrap up by telling you just a few of the painful realities that we have been learning, and maybe they will resonate with you in the journey that you're on in bridging both the racial and the socioeconomic divide as well. First of all, I want to say this is personal. It's about relationships. When it comes to diversity of racial or socioeconomic backgrounds, there are no quotas or no numbers that can ever capture the work that we're talking about here at this conference. It's about relationships. It's about getting into each other's lives. It's about hearing each other's stories. When we have a chance to get to know each other, our diversity changes what we care about. You see, for our church, we have found out that when one part of the congregation suffers, the whole congregation suffers. It changed the language that we used around the Trayvon Martin case. It changed the way that we have engaged with our legislators to beg them to do their job and to fix our broken immigration system. It has changed the way that we speak up and tell the stories of one another, because they're not stories of just individuals. They are stories of our brothers and sisters in Christ who are part of our church. This is personal. Second of all, this is complicated. Everyone has different expectations inside and outside of the church. See, back in 2010, Time Magazine came out with an article that was called, "Can Megachurches Bridge the Racial Divide?" And it talked about Willow. There are some things that were wonderful about that article, and we were honored by it, and we celebrated it. But at the same time, there are many who would say, you're just taking baby steps. Why aren't you any farther along than you are? And for us, as we have looked at trying to bridge this racial divide, we want to be the first ones to say we are on a journey of trying to learning from heroes who have gone before us, learning from heroes who are paving the way. And for us, it has to be about us trying to set expectations with our team members, with our staff, especially with our congregation, setting expectations around what steps we can take to move forward in this value. See, the reality is we have to have hard and sincere and honest conversations, and we have to work it out together to figure out what does the growing value of diversity look like in our setting. Just like every one of you in your own settings have to work it out with the people engaged in your church. How does it play out in your setting? What steps can you take? How can you move forward in a way? For us, it is complicated. But I would also say that this is relentless. It's relentless. This is not something that we have found that can ever happen from the top down. While yes, it's been declared as a value many times from our stage, the reality is that the real work comes from the bottom up. The real work comes from the hard conversations, comes from the emails, it comes from the phone calls. See, this is about transformation in people's lives. It's about getting into their hearts to help understand their perspective of people, their perspective of the world, and helping to shape that. We recently had an article that we posted online about our Spanish-speaking congregation. We were moving our Spanish-speaking congregation to our prime hour on Sundays. We moved it to our 11:15 service time because we had so many people from that congregation saying they couldn't invite their friends to come to church because it was a hard hour for them to get to our church. So we said, okay, we're going to give you prime time when you want it. We will make that happen. And we posted that article on our website, and there was a comment that showed up in there. Because, when people post comments online, they like to think it's anonymous. They like to think that they can rant and rave, and they like to think that nobody is going to pay attention to that. But there was a comment that was posted online from someone who says, I have been attending this church for a decade, and I am mortified that you are now forcing me to interact with illegals when I go to church. Well, this man, he thought he was posting a late night anonymous comment, but much to his surprise, we called him the next morning. We called him and had a very nice conversation with this man. One of our pastors actually made the phone call, and it was a grace-filled and loving conversation. This man was actually very embarrassed. He apologized. He removed the comment. He said, "It's not how I wanted my heart to come across. It was a moment of weakness." And we all have moments of weakness, right? We all have moments of weakness. But this man, he removed the comment, and we have to be relentless. We have to be relentless about anything that's going to cause pain to another person. We have to be relentless about anything that's going to be divisive in the body. It's part of what we've learned about this work.